Sup net, it's Kirk, and these are the comic reviews. Sup net, it's Kirk, and these are the mini reviews for June 3rd for all the releases that came out this past week. There were a lot of them. It was a very heavy week, and I did not get through all the issues that I actually bought. But we are going to talk about the ones that I have read so far, because I still have some more sitting over here on the other side. I'm really sorry about that, but let's just get right into it. Bizarro #1 by Corson Duarte. This is the whole new post-convergent storytelling that they're going to start working on. And this is actually my pick of the week. It's adorable. It's Bizarro, and it's Jimmy Olsen, and they're on a cross-country trek in a car with Colin the Chupacabra. No, seriously, they actually pick up a Chupacabra named Colin, and it's Bizarro's little best friend, and he kind of reminds me of Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, and he's really, really adorable. And the series completely surprised me. I kind of just picked it up on a whim because Bizarro is one of those really weird, strange characters that you never actually think is going to be a character that you can tell a really good story about. You just always kind of think he's just going to be a little kind of weird trope and just be that thing that just kind of moves along Superman's story and then just blows up later on. We don't even care about whatever happened to Bizarro. But really, this thing is just adorable. This just surprised the holy hell out of me. Unfortunately, I'm a little bummed that it's issue 1 of 6. So hopefully they tell a good enough story, and the writer has plenty of ideas to maybe keep this going. I'm going to follow this series. I really implore you guys to pick it up too. I don't necessarily think it's all ages, but I also didn't find anything in it that would offend a kid or be hard to follow. I thought it was really fun. Also, they give Bizarro his own bad guy right away, and he's a sleazy used car salesman. I'm really enjoying this. Great storytelling. And Colin the Chupacabra. That's it right there. And also Batman Beyond #1. This is all from the fallout of Future's End, and it tells the story of a time-placed Tim Drake, who is now the new Batman Beyond after Terry McGinnis bites it and passes the suit on to him. Fun series. If you're a fan of the old Batman Beyond series, I think you're really going to like it. But at the same time, it's telling a completely different story than the future that we knew Terry McGinnis to be a part of. Tim Drake, former Robin, former Red Robin, is now thrust back into the future after the events from Future's End. And it's kind of interesting because he's still fighting Brother Eye. But believe it or not, it's a little bit more of a dystopian wasteland where they're fighting the cyborgs and they're fighting the robot versions of some of the former heroes and villains of the DC Universe, and we're not necessarily sure if this is going to be the future that the current DC Universe is now heading towards, but thank you to Convergence, they actually fixed all of that, so we don't actually have to answer that question right now. But it's fun for me because I'm a Tim Drake fanboy. I've always liked him as Robin. That's when I started reading Batman comics when they first introduced that character after they killed Jason Todd off the first time. And it's kind of interesting to see because we always knew that Tim Drake, the way they developed the character over the last 10-15 years, was going to come into his own. And we thought it was going to be Red Robin and he was going to be a vigilante. But then a lot of us were also really upset about how they retconned the character a little bit and made him younger and a little less inexperienced and put him in charge of the Teen Titans. And that costume really, really sucked. But like I said, coming to his own, now he's actually Batman. And he's the Batman of the future. And I think that's a really fun concept. Gonna watch that one closely. And those first 2 DC titles that I picked up that I totally took a chance with, I was really excited by these. Great storytelling, thinking outside of the box as far as what they can do with some of their characters. I thought was really inventive and kind of goes against the status quo of DC, and I was really excited for those 2 titles. Except, the fuck is this? DC, in a very strange move, has decided that they're going to start splitting some of the panels and sell advertising space. So you're going 1 panel, 2 panel, and Nick Lachey selling you Twix. Another panel. More Nick Lachey selling you Twix. I want a Twix right now. It has nothing to do with Nick Lachey. I swear. But hey DC, you're trying and I appreciate that, and as a fan who likes creative storytelling, I'm really glad that you took some of these chances, even if you kind of botched it a little bit with corporate sponsorship. And then we have Superior Iron Man #9. This actually ends the series before we go into the Secret Wars for Tony Stark. This was really interesting for me to read because actually from the fallout from Axis, where good guys became bad guys and bad guys became good guys, and Deadpool was very zen and somehow that was really funny. Instead of Tony Stark becoming a good guy and becoming a bad guy, he just actually became a more megalomaniacal version of himself, kind of akin to trying to play God and deciding what's best for everyone and micromanaging people and having massive security set up all over the world. He offers an Extremis 3.0 app that you can actually download through your phone. Turns out it makes it the best version of yourself that you can be, but at a cost. $100 a day to keep that app running. So not only is he going to try to make people better than they can be, he's going to become filthy rich off of it. And even though the series ends abruptly with a little bit of a moral lesson that Tony has to learn about himself, because he's drinking and whoring and sexing all over the place again, and making all the money that he can in the process doing it. This is an interesting place to leave the character, because we just found out that Brian Michael Bendis is now going to hop over and take over Invincible Iron Man after Secret Wars is done. So this is going to be a very fun read. Please go check that out. Then Secret Wars number 3. We have a lot of Secret Wars to get through. I'll try to do it as quickly as possible. Number 3 was awesome. I'm really liking how they're developing the story. It's not necessarily epic battles or life and death situations just yet, but 3 was definitely very interesting because we finally see some of our heroes coming out of stasis, and for whatever reason, they remember the worlds that were before it became BattleWorld, when Doctor Doom and his crazy religion of people, not to mention the Thors, tried to save everybody. This issue was really interesting for me, and I'll tell you for one reason. It's because it wasn't necessarily a Doctor Doom issue. I think if you delve a little bit deeper into it, let's believe it or not, reveals a lot about who Stephen Strange, Doctor Strange, really is as a person, some of the decisions that he decided that he had to make in order to save everybody as much as he could, by relinquishing power to Doctor Doom, because he knew Doom was going to be better at playing God than he was. That's why I think we learned a lot more about Stephen Strange in this issue than we did anything else. BattleWorld number 2, Howard the Duck and Blade the Vampire Slayer team up. Get it. And then the hotly anticipated Amazing Spider-Man number 1, Renew Your Vows. Why was it hotly anticipated? This takes back to the story of Peter and Mary still married, and they have a child, and it's a cute little daughter. And Peter's trying to balance being a husband and a father, and it's kind of funny to watch Mary Jane and Peter going like, by the way, you can't be coming in and out of the apartment dressed as Spider-Man while she's this young, because there's a really good chance that maybe she'll let that little secret slip later on as she's getting older. And I was just excited for this as you. I'm the Spider-Man guy. I love Spider-Man stories. I've also really enjoyed some of the interesting and precarious places that Dan Slott has taken the character in the last few years. Very inventive, kind of maybe showing fans things that they'd always wanted to see before, but maybe Marvel was a little like, we shouldn't do that. And it's been a lot of fun. Unfortunately, this first issue wasn't that great, and that's kind of hard for me to say because, like I said, I'm the Spider-Man guy. Some of the dialogue is a little trite. It feels a little rushed. Not as grand or epic in scale as it had been hyped to be. Also, I'm not necessarily sure if Kubert art was really the right choice for this. The hard part with any of these Secret War stories that I'm starting to realize is that when they go back and revisit older storylines, especially from like the 80s and 90s, that they've been trying to get artists who represented that time and bringing them back to retell the stories. And I understand that for the sake of familiarity. But it just, I feel like, if you're going to have Venom and you're going to have Peter trying to save his family, and if you're going to try to explore the dangers that all lead up to Peter making a really big decision at the end of the issue, it really wasn't big enough. And, yeah, I'm still going to watch it. We all want to know what happens with a married Peter Parker, and after everything got retconned with Brand New Day, we all were wondering what if, and that's what this series is going to be for Spider-Man fans. But not the greatest start for it, unfortunately. And also, speaking of other Secret Wars stories that pick up from early 90s ideas that they had before, Future Imperfect number 1 by Peter David. I'm a sucker for Peter David. I loved his X Factor. I kind of like when he's playing with those other characters that no one else will really touch. And had a lot of fun with this series because it does go back and revisit a 1992-93 miniseries they had about a future that was actually ruled by a Bruce Banner that had gone mad and renamed himself the Mastro. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm just thinking about the restaurant that serves a really good steak right now called Mastro, so I'm just going to pretend that's how you're supposed to call the Hulk right now. But in an interesting choice, instead of getting George Perez, the original artist from that series, they decided to go with Greg Pak. And again, one of those things where you're going to go back and retell these older stories, or to get another artist whose art actually represents the artist that they were trying to mimic from way back when. I thought Greg Pak was a very interesting choice. Very modern art as far as comic books go, but also a lot of gripes because it seems like he draws the same porn face in all his female characters. But despite that, the series is great, reads really well, has some awesome twists and turns, and really cool to see the Mastro Bat because that was a more interesting take on the Hulk that I think a lot of Hulk fans really enjoyed. And there's some pretty cool reveals at the end of the issue that will get me coming back for it. And I kind of like when Peter David is genuinely, you can see he's having fun writing stories, and that fun comes out in certain comics that he's doing. So this is one of those. Go check that out. And also up on Marvel is Star Wars 6 and Darth Vader 6, because Star Wars number 6, holy shit, they did do a little twist on one of the main characters, and I'm going to do a separate Star Wars video instead, because I think all the new Marvel series have been amazing for Star Wars, and they definitely deserve their own video. And switching gears, Wicked and Divine number 11. You know this is one of my favorite series right now by my favorite creators. And for the Wicked and Divine fandom, this issue will make you go crazy. It will make you lose your head. And yes, I do hate myself for the joke, but quite honestly, it's with mad genius panache that they have cultivated a story all around making your head explode. And this story will definitely do that. You're going to lose it. It's very satisfying. The art is top-notch once again. The pacing is perfect. And on certain reveals in the issue, I did not feel robbed in the slightest. Even though I did have a couple of working theories about who was going around killing our gods, the reveal is very satisfying, and I'm not going to spoil it. That's why you need to go get Wicked and Divine number 11. Also, the really cool part is, I think within the next week or two with the release of this issue, you are going to be able to get volume number 2 that's going to come out and collect the second half of the series. Because I definitely feel like in a trade format that the series reads a lot better. Get number 11, Wicked and Divine forever. I'm going to let my fanboy flag fly for just a second. If you like Wicked and Divine, go check out Phonogram. I don't want it to be cult status anymore. This is what put those guys on the map. It is amazing. It is Hellblazer meets High Fidelity, and that's what sold me on it, and that's why I want you guys to go figure it out. They also did a second series, and they also just announced a third series coming out in, I think, August or September. So get ready, get excited, freak out. And then in a random, man, this looks really cool. I wonder what this is about. Choice that I decided to make at the comic shop this week, Broken World by Boom Studios. I really do enjoy Boom Studios, which is co-owned by Mark Waid, and they get to do a lot of really cool stuff and release a lot of really great things on that imprint. This story is very cool for the fact that if you like end-of-the-world stories and dystopian stories and you know, just people losing their minds, the collapse of society. Which, by the way, I'm starting to see like that being a theme right now in a lot of our entertainment and films. But if it turns into a Mad Max world, I'm going to be okay with that. Don't get me wrong. The art's very clean. Definitely very indie as far as what you would come to expect, because it is a story about a woman who is trying to sneak onto a craft that's going to take her up to like arcs that are above the Earth, because there's an asteroid heading for Earth that's going to annihilate all life. The government, though, kind of sucks, because they're deciding who gets to go up and who has to stay, and a lot of the people that are staying on Earth that have to die along with the asteroid, we're not quite sure what they've done or what kind of people they are, but there's definitely reasons why they're not getting onto the space arcs that are going to save everyone's lives and keep humanity going forever. Very emotional. Dialogue was spot on. Different themes were very well thought out. Emotionally going from one place to the next in just a couple of pages. I know a lot of those things sound fun and cute and sweet, and oh yeah, that sounds like a really interesting story, dystopian future where everything sucks. But here's the twist. In the final page, and I'm going to get a little spoilery here, we actually find out that our protagonist doesn't make it onto the arc like she originally planned, is actually going to be stuck on Earth for the big asteroid collision shindig. But then the asteroid never hits Earth. So that's pretty much where we're at. Like I said, a lot of stuff came out this week. I did not get to all of it. So tell me what I missed. Tell me what I got right. Tell me what you read this week that I need to check out. Like I said, I haven't gotten to Midnighter yet. I was really excited to read that because, you know, I'm a crazy Authority fan. And I really kind of am interested to see how like those new characters are going to actually work in with the DC universe. Because I've never really thought that they actually did a really good job with incorporating Wildstorm into DC right the first time, so maybe that's a second chance at this. And always, because I always feel stupid saying this, like and subscribe. Please find the channel, tell your friends, write down in comments. You know I go crazy in the comments because that's where I like to have my little conversations. And hopefully I find you again next week, and like I said, tell me what I'm missing and tell me what you're reading. Guys, thanks.